A news anchor was shouting information from her desk in the newsroom. The public should remain vigilant. If the truth hadn't come out, an innocent person would have languished behind bars for the rest of their life, and who would answer for it? The court, considering the mental state of the unstable woman who falsely accused him, ordered her committed to a state psychiatric facility for proper treatment and warned the hospital staff to maintain maximum distance from her, as she suffers from a dangerous condition that would not hesitate to cause harm to others. A month later, an investigative journalist had obtained reports of the girl's medical condition, her mental illness, and her horrific behavior. Schizophrenica, hallucinations, final stage, were published in the newspaper. Had this cheerful 25-year-old become addicted to drugs? She wondered, twirling a pen between her fingers. Tomorrow morning, I need to go to the psychiatric facility to inquire about the girl's condition and see how she's improved. Girl was taken to a dingy room in the mental asylum. The small room was filled with dampness, the bitter smell of medications, and the distant cries of disturbed patients echoing from far away. The fluorescent light flickered dimly inside, as if its light had been exhausted by the oppressive atmosphere of the place. In the center stood a heavy metal bed, to which a girl was strapped with thick leather restraints. Both her hands were tightly secured to the bed's frame. The straps were so tight they left deep marks on her flesh. She struggled desperately, but every attempt was futile. Dried blood crusted around the edges of her fingernails. She had clearly struggled to free herself before. Nurse Sarah, standing in the corner of the room, cast a cold gaze at the girl. Her face was expressionless, professional. She simply stood there, her hands gripping the electrodes of the shock therapy machine tightly. Dr. Harrison approached slowly. His weary eyes held a clinical detachment, as if this were merely a routine medical procedure. "Ready?" he asked without looking at Sarah. Sarah nodded and turned on the electroshock machine. "No, no, no, please no!" The girl's muffled scream echoed through the room. Her breathing became labored. Her neck began to twist, like an animal trapped in a snare. "Begin," the doctor ordered. Sarah attached the two metal electrodes to the girl's damp forehead. The first switch was pressed. A sharp electrical crack echoed through the room. The girl's entire body jerked upward violently, as if someone had connected a metal rod to live current. Her eyes rolled back, showing only white. Strands of hair flew into the air. Her lips trembled and contorted terribly. Waves of electricity coursed through her body. Her fingers clenched together, her nails breaking and bleeding. A terrifying scream tore through the room. Her back arched so high from the shock that the tendons below her shoulders stood out like cords. Her legs hit the edge of the bed frame, and the straps tightened so much that the veins beneath her skin turned blue and purple. Another jolt. A thin stream of saliva oozed from beneath her bent neck. Sarah hesitated, her hand hovering over the switch, but the doctor ignored her uncertainty. "Turn on the switch again." This time, the jolt was even more intense. Her jaw clenched so tightly that it looked like her teeth might shatter. The muscles contracted so hard that the veins in her neck bulged prominently. The room echoed only with the terrifying sound of electrical discharge, the crackling of current, and the pain that seemed to penetrate deep into her bones. The girl's eyes were now fixed and glassy. Her lips were quivering, but no words came out. Red blood trickled from her nose onto the sterile floor. "Please, stop," she stammered nervously.
"One more," the doctor ordered firmly. "Turn on the switch." The girl's body took one last impossible jolt. Her back arched completely upward. Her neck bent at an unnatural angle. Her eyes went completely white. Her face went deathly pale. But then there was a movement in her open eyes. She was laughing. A slow, cold, sinister laugh that seemed to come from somewhere deep within her. Sarah looked back at her, trembling. The girl's broken voice echoed with an otherworldly quality. It was a sign of some unseen force taking hold. Dr. Harrison's eyes narrowed suspiciously. The girl's pupils slowly dilated abnormally, and then all the lights in the room suddenly flickered and went out completely. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. Dr. Harrison stepped back instinctively, but then the girl's body shook again, but this time not from any electrical current. Her yellow-tinged eyes flashed in the darkness, and her face went completely expressionless. There was only a terrifying, oppressive silence in the room. Seeing this, Dr. Harrison said urgently, "Take her to her room and lock the door securely. She's too dangerous." Dr. Harrison left quickly, driving home through the heavy rain outside. The screeching of the gurney's wheels echoed through the long, cold hospital corridors. Sarah and two orderlies wheeled the girl back to her room. Her thin, emaciated body still trembled with gentle aftershocks. It was pouring down heavily outside. Streams of water leaked in through the old, rusted hospital windows. The crackling of lightning shook the entire building. With each flash of lightning, some patients stirred restlessly in their beds. Some remained asleep, while others began muttering incoherently. "They're coming! They're coming! They're coming for us!" Sarah didn't respond. She just wanted to finish quickly and get away from here. They pushed the gurney through a narrow corridor and stopped in front of room 313. The old metal door was rusted and heavily bolted. Deep scratch marks on the door now looked even more frightening in the dim light. The orderly opened the door, and Sarah transferred the girl's lifeless body onto the bed. Her eyes were open, but there was no life in them. She was staring straight at the ceiling, as if she were watching something invisible above. "Oh God, she's smiling again," Sarah muttered nervously. A faint, strange smile appeared on her dry, cracked lips. "Shut up, don't overthink it," the other orderly whispered urgently. They quickly removed the restraints from her hands and feet, but the electrode headband remained attached. "Come on, let's go," Sarah said coldly, trying to maintain her composure. They all left the room quickly. The door slammed shut, and the thick metal lock clicked into place with finality. The rain intensified outside. Lightning crackled relentlessly across the sky. The shadows within the hospital grew darker and more menacing. A faint light flickered in the dark room of the psychiatric ward. Between the white walls stood a metal bed covered with a white sheet, and a girl lay motionless, unconscious. But a storm raged within her eyes. Only her eyes knew how many screams were hidden behind this suffocating silence.
Her body lay there, but those voices echoed in her mind. "This girl is insane. She's mentally ill. Such patients can prove dangerous to society. Your Honor, please commit her to a state mental hospital immediately so that no one else's life is endangered." The silence of night fell upon the entire psychiatric facility. Heavy rain pelted the barred windows, creating a terrifying drumming sound. Every few minutes, white flashes of lightning illuminated the shadows in the long corridors. Sarah, the hospital's night shift nurse, was on her routine rounds. The flickering fluorescent lights in the dark corridors made the atmosphere even more unsettling. Some patients were fast asleep, while others rocked back and forth on their beds, muttering incomprehensibly to themselves. In a faraway corner, an elderly woman was chanting something in a low voice, as if communicating with some invisible presence. Sarah's footsteps slowly approached room 313, located at the end of the ward. A strange sense of dread filled her chest, but she kept herself composed, maintaining her professional demeanor. Her heart sunk as she peered inside through the small, reinforced window in the door. On the bed lay the same girl who had undergone electroshock therapy just a few hours earlier, but her eyes were still wide open, staring straight at the ceiling. Not a single blink, not a movement, not even the rise and fall of breathing. Sarah's throat began to tighten. She took a deep breath to calm her racing heart, thinking maybe it was just a coincidence. Maybe she kept her eyes open even while sleeping, as sometimes happened with certain psychiatric patients after treatment. But still, something felt deeply wrong. The room was pitch black, except for the dim emergency light in the corridor, which cast eerie shadows and made the girl's face look even paler and more corpse-like. She mustered up her courage, unlocking the door and slowly stepping inside. As she entered the room, she felt a strange chill wash over her. The window was locked, yet there was an unnatural coldness in the air, as if some unseen force were present. The girl remained absolutely motionless, lifeless. Sarah slowly approached the bed and examined her face more closely. Her pupils were frozen in place. Her skin had taken on a bluish-white pallor, as if all the blood had drained from her body.
Sarah's heart began racing. With a trembling hand, she reached out and shook the girl's shoulder. No movement at all. She shook harder. Still no response whatsoever. Her throat felt completely dry. She leaned closer and placed 2 fingers near the girl's nose and mouth. No breathing. Nothing. Trembling now, she quickly grabbed the girl's wrist, pressing her fingers against the vein to feel for a pulse. Nothing. No heartbeat. No pulse. No sign of life. The girl was dead. Sarah jerked her hand back in horror. The patient's skin was ice cold, as if death itself had transferred to Sarah's palm. With shaking hands, she fumbled for her cell phone and dialed Dr. Harrison's emergency number. The phone rang. "Hello? Dr. Harrison speaking." His voice was groggy with sleep. Sarah's voice came out shaky and breathless. "Doctor, it's Sarah from the night shift. That patient who underwent shock treatment today, she's dead." There was silence on the other end for several long seconds. "What are you talking about?
Sarah,
She was stable just a few hours ago." "No, doctor, I'm telling you, she stopped breathing completely. Her body has gone cold. She has no pulse." "That's impossible. Stay there, I'm coming right now," the doctor said before hanging up abruptly. Sarah lowered her phone and looked back at the bed, her hands still trembling. The girl remained in the same position, lying flat on her back. But something had changed. Something that made Sarah's blood run ice cold. The girl's eyes were no longer staring at the ceiling. They had shifted. Now those dead, glassy eyes were looking directly at Sarah, staring right into her soul. And then, slowly, impossibly, that faint smile returned to the girl's cracked lips. The phone slipped from Sarah's frozen fingers and clattered to the floor.
If these stories sent chills down your spine, don't vanish into the darkness without hitting that like button. Share your scariest experience in the comments below, because your story might be featured next. And remember, the scariest thing is missing out. So subscribe now, before the next nightmare finds you.